We got a brand new rocket frame sidearm this week with Iron Banner, and it has rapidly become one of my favorite onslaught weapons this season, especially in conjunction with all the new Stasis artifact mods. It's the Tanasha's Mastery.
Oh, hey!
Hey.
What you doing here?
No, not that Tinasha. I mean Tanasha's Mastery. It's a stasis frame, it's got some hallmark stasis perks in the pool, and the build integration here is pretty friggin' fun, so let's dive into it. Before we get into the perk pool, which is kind of stacked for some pretty banging combinations, we gotta talk about aesthetics for a second. I've got to admit, like, as much as I dig the weapon, I am a little disappointed in the choice for the weapon model. And don't get me wrong, I love the high albedo, I love the way it looks, but I'm just not sure it makes sense here for a rocket sidearm. Like, you've got a small barrel on a small weapon, and you can even see, like, the rifling inside the barrel. But it just doesn't make sense to me that this would be a stasis rocket sidearm. These weapons generate a lot of hype because of their build synergy, their ammo economy, and the AoE crowd control capabilities. And while this weapon does deliver in performance, you just got to compare this to the Aberrant Action, which looks incredible, unique weapon model, and opening at the tip of the barrel that's twice the size because it's a rocket coming out of there, not a 9mm round. Then you compare it to like the Indebted Kindness, which again has a unique model. It looks heavily reinforced to be able to handle a rocket coming out of it. It's got a big opening, etc. It seems to me like a bit of a miss to just take the high albedo and give it a new paint job and be like, it shoots rockets now. I would have preferred, like, even just to take the Indebted Kindness model if they were just going to do that and modify that. That would make more sense to me if you didn't have the time and resources to make a brand new weapon model. But that's just me. Okay, let me know what you think about the design in the comments. But let's move on to the performance, though. The stat package on the Tinasha it's really solid, right? There's not a ton of differences between the stat packages on these rocket sidearms, pretty minimal changes, but the Tinasha does sit on top of most of the stat categories across the family. But those differences will likely be pretty negligible. Let's talk about the perks. The first column has Reverberation. Final blows with this weapon increase the size of its detonations for a short duration. We're talking, moving the blast radius stat from 35 up to 100 for 5.5 seconds. That's actually really good, right? Then we have Loose Change, which people still think of as a throwaway perk, and it isn't, okay? Applying an elemental debuff increases reload speed, aim assist, and movement speed while ADS'd. Guys, if you're running Chill Clip in the second column, then this perk is going to be active all the time. I mean, literally 100% uptime on this when you're in combat. And we'll circle back around to this because I think that it's a real contender. We're going to want to compare it to Air Trigger in just a minute. Next up is Impulse Amplifier. Dramatically increases the velocity and gives a plus 20 buff to reload speed. We have Enlightened Action. Dealing damage improves reload and handling. Deconstruct. Dealing sustained damage grants bonus damage to vehicles and constructs. Offhand Strike. Final blows grant range, stability, and accuracy from the hip. And finally, Air Trigger, which is the perk everyone is telling you to get. It's fantastic. It's going to give you additional ammo in reserves by basically the value of one whole reserves mod plus an additional 50% of that value. So it's a lot of extra ammo. Then you get a plus 30 reload speed buff when you queue up the reload while your feet are off the ground. But you do get a penalty to aim assist while airborne. This is what I'm using in the background, and you can see how ridiculously fast this thing reloads. Plus, I'm like never running out of ammo either. I've got Stasis Scavenger on, I've got one Stasis Reserves mod on, and Special Scav. We're just cooking with this thing. But like I said, I want to circle back around to Loose Change. Air Trigger is probably your standard choice here, I'll just be honest with you. But Loose Change should still be a strong contender. If you're using Chill Clip in the second column, you should seriously consider this. Loose Change grants 50 reload speed, compared to Air Trigger's 30. Air Trigger does get that multiplier though, so it's going to be really close here, but either way, you're going to end up with about 80 reload speed with Loose Change, and that's nutty. You're also going to get plus 20 aim assist instead of an aim assist penalty, and you're going to get a 20% decrease to your ADS movement speed penalty as well. That last one's kind of irrelevant since most of the time you're probably just going to be hip firing the thing, not ADSing, but sometimes you still do ADS on solid targets that are far away, and that would help you out there. But either way, that 50 reload speed and the aim assist bump to help keep that reticle sticking a little bit better as you're snapping from target to target. That's really going to be pretty nice. So don't just throw away your loose change and chill clip rolls. Hang on to them and take them for a spin. Let's move on to the second column here. We have Surrounded. We've got One for All, Frenzy, Desperate Measures, Chill Clip, Bait and Switch, and Adagio. I do actually think there's a decent single target build in here with Impulse Amplifier and Adagio. That's going to be what I'm hunting for next, just to see how it feels against majors and players in PvP. This has the chance to be one of the only rocket sidearms that can be really useful in PvP, but I'll let you know once I get the god roll and try it out. But other than that, Chill Clip is the obvious answer here. I mean, there are other choices, but if you're trying to be optimal and really lean into what makes these things good, Chill Clip is kind of the only choice there. Direct hits with the top half of the magazine cause a detonation that slows nearby targets. This is 60 stacks of the slow debuff, and you're going to want Whisper of Durance on here for that longer duration, and it's going to reach out in a 4-meter radius to anything around it. You can do follow-up shots on the same bigger target to freeze them in place and then do shatter damage. This is amazing for ad control. It's not just about killing, it's also about controlling the pace of the engagement. Being able to slow things down is huge, especially in the upper waves of Onslaught. We're going to be stunning Unstoppables very easily as well, which is great. And unlike Volt Shot, you don't need to get a kill to queue this up. You just get it for free. And once you burn a few shots out of the magazine, you can just bunny hop and reload instantly with Air Trigger, or just reload organically with Loose Change and start the process all over again. I'll give you a quick flyby on my build here if you wanted to take quick notes and copy it down. I also ended up rocking Salvation's Grip because of the fun full sending on area denial and crowd control, while leaning into shatter damage and ability regeneration. Enhanced dusk fields all over the place, huge icy crystals, long, slow debuffs. It's like the ultimate pace setting approach to PvE. I'm using Grim Harvest so I can harvest some Grims too. It's seriously too much fun. Lastly, unfortunately, these are PvE weapons and we get a PvP origin trait. I wish they would have included even just one quiet moment on it, just so there's at least something that works in PvE, but it is what it is. Skulking Wolf will do you no good. Ultimately, the Tanasha's Mastery has some seriously good build integration potential for Stasis users, especially in the current landscape this season with the artifact mods. You'll get a lot of mileage out of this thing, so I recommend taking the time to focus your Iron Banner engrams and get a juicy roll on the Tinasha. Thanks as always for tuning into the video today. If you enjoyed it, would you consider leaving a like on the video, as that's the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube, and consider subscribing for additional Destiny 2 content. Polite reminder and a gentle plug. I don't know that I should ever use the words gentle and plug in the same sentence again, but I did it here. We'll just move on and pretend that I didn't. Either way, I also have a couple of other channels, so if you're into things like Dungeons & Dragons, I did recently start up a D&D channel with a full playlist on how to play, breaking down different aspects of build crafting, filling out character sheets, specific breakdowns on rules for things like stealth and combat, as well as some handy tools for dungeon masters. I also have another channel where I collect and review and talk about whiskey, so you're welcome to check that out too if you're like me and you're like, I like to play video games and I like to collect whiskey. I know we're a niche audience, but if you're into that too, I'll leave a link to those channels in the description. And with that I say, be warm and well fed, my friends, and I do hope to catch you in the Crucible. Or in Onslaught, that too. Bye.